Hey there, golfing friends. Golf Coach Dan back today. And today we're going to do an episode of what we call Golf Talk. I've only done one of these so far, but Golf Talk, just as a brief summary, is more of an open-ended concept here. So we're just going to hop into the simulator, talk about some different concepts, hopefully concepts that can help a lot of golfers play better golf, right? So let's dive into it. Today's concept is something that I call threading the needle. And it pertains to two key data points that we look at in a golf swing. So I teach in a simulator all day with TrackMan, which is great. Helps us quantify everything that's happening in our swing. And I have two key data points listed on the bottom. We can see club path and attack angle. I would argue you could distill your understanding of how the club is three-dimensionally moving through the ball down to these two numbers. So club path is helping us appreciate whether the club is traveling more right or left through the golf ball. So for me, as a right-handed golfer, I'm standing on the inside of the target line. So if my club path is moving to the right, we call that inside out. If my club path is traveling to the left, we call that outside in. And if you're unaware of this, as I swing more inside out, opposites attract in this game. So as I swing to the right, assuming my club face is square-ish, it's going to draw it to the left, and then vice versa. If you're someone who's fading it or maybe even slicing it unintentionally, you most likely have an outside-in club path we're dealing with there, okay? Attack angle is more a measure at whether my club is traveling down or up as it strikes the ball. If you're unaware, we want to generally be hitting down on anything on the ground. So irons, wedges, even your fairway woods and hybrids, slightly down on them. And then once that driver's on the tee, to get your optimal distance, you probably want to be swinging just a little bit up on it, and that's why you tee it forward in your stance and things like that. Okay, so today's topic is threading the needle, and I have two props or training aids here. I have a plane station set up for my 7-iron here, and I have a towel on the ground. This is a combo avoidance drill. So in my lessons, I'm a huge fan of avoidance drills because it's very easy to overthink in this game, and it's a 1-second swing. So when you start injecting 10, 20, 30 seconds of thought into that 1-second swing, we oftentimes will deal with sort of system overload, or sometimes we would call it like paralysis from analysis, right? So you just can't be as athletic as you want to be when you're thinking too much. So these avoidance drills are great for that. The plane station here would be to help me swing more inside out. So if I can stay underneath this noodle, that'll ensure that I'm on plane, maybe even shallow under the plane. And what we're talking about here relative to our swing plane, if I go steep or over the top, that would be over this noodle, and that would leave me more outside in. Like we talked about, you can lead to slices like that. If the face closes, you'll pull it left. And there's also a lot of contact issues that can occur from the club moving too steeply into the ground late, right? So if I go to the top of my backswing and I get this club too shallow or drop under this noodle, that will inspire a little bit more of an inside-out club path, right? Great for draws, but really great for consistency of contact. Generally speaking, in full swings, as we come in the downswing, we want this club head sort of in line with the hands, maybe even a little behind it. Usually trouble happens when it's out in front. You'd only want to see that in like bunker shots or some flop shots around the green maybe. Short game shots, where we're not as worried about compression. So, got the noodle there, helps me swing more inside out. The towel is also an avoidance drill, so I'm avoiding the noodle to swing inside out, and the towel is going to help me ensure that I'm getting my weight forward so I'm hitting down on the ball. I have a 7-iron here, so whenever I'm hitting an iron off the ground, we want to make sure that the attack angle is negative, which means I'm hitting down on the ball. Now, why is it called threading the needle? It's not easy to do these two things at the same time for a lot of golfers, okay? So if I swing steep and over the top, what happens is, we think about it, the club is both traveling up and down through the swing, sort of up in the backswing and somewhat down in the downswing, but it's also traveling around me, right? So when we say we're coming steep and over the top, what that really means is it's going around first before it travels down. And through that movement, the golfer gets lots of time to shift their weight forward as the club travels around, but then as it travels down, it's moving steep and left, okay? So what happens is, if I start to, I guess I kind of missed the point there a little bit, apologies. As you're steep, it's easier to hit down on it, just to make sure that's clear, right? Because you have more time to shift into your lead leg. So I deal with golfers all the time, maybe you have a slice pattern, they're kind of coming steep outside in with their club path, causing slices, but certainly the attack angle looks great. They're hitting well down on the ball. So then what we'll do is we'll help them swing more underneath the noodle like this, or some different kind of work to get the swing more on plane and inside out. And almost always when that happens, the club starts to drop down to the ground earlier, and we start seeing people hit behind the ball on the ground. So a positive attack angle or a low point that's behind the ball, and that's going to lead to some heavy contact. So easier said than done. But what we'll do for those golfers, and there's a lot of them, is we'll create this thread the needle drill, right? So it's not easy, but our goal is to work this club so it stays under the noodle, but also making sure that I don't strike the ground by the towel at all. So I have to be forward of the towel and under the noodle. And those two things are called threading the needle, because it's very easy to swing inside out under the noodle, but it might cause me to hit behind the ball. It's very easy to hit down when I'm steep, but it might be causing me to be outside in and slicey, right? So let's try a couple of these. I'm gonna hop in here. I would encourage golfers start with some half swings, about waist high back to waist high through. If I did this all correctly, what we're gonna see is a positive club path and a negative attack angle. Now, apologies here. Let me go ahead and just double check that my TrackMan is lined up. It might be lined up for driver right now. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so should have done that ahead of the video. My apologies. If the alignment's off, it's going to throw off our club path number. So I'm going to assume that the alignment was to blame for that negative path. Let's try this again with a better alignment here. Under the noodle, in front of the towel. That was a little cleaner as well. Now with our TrackMan lined up, we should get a positive, yeah, perfect. So that's a +4 on the attack, or sorry, +4 on the club path, but a -5 on the attack angle. So three-dimensionally, that means I'm swinging from the inside, but I'm also going to be kind of trapping and hitting down on that ball, and that's how you're going to get some piercing flights on these irons and wedges. Okay, so threading the needle, I know it's a little convoluted, but that's why this is golf talk, right? This is not nice, simply packaged tips. So the concept here is, really, if we're living on plane, a lot of things get easier, but easier said than done, right? So when we get steep with the plane, that's going to help you push the attack angle forward, but it's going to cause maybe some mishits and some slices and pulls from that outside in club path, right? And then as a golfer, if you work that path more inside out, we can initially expect that club path, the attack angle, low point, to pull back on you a little bit, right? So if you're one of these golfers where you're trying to get more inside out, but when you do it, you kind of have to catch the ground first a little bit, this might be the drill for you to kind of hold you in that middle ground where you can be shallow enough where you're not going to get steep and outside in, but also getting that weight forward enough where you're not going to strike behind the ball. And this is threading the needle. Hope that was helpful. Comment with any things you want to see in the future. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, that would be very appreciated. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.